Just a minute or two, Jon Whitledge of Whitledge Designs will be speaking about the Magic Bus. If you haven't taken an opportunity to go see that in the parking lot, you really need to. There's a live musician going, he's on guitar, they're mixing it with a pre-recorded band, they're running it through the Magic Bus, they also have it running to 2 or 3 headphone amps, tube headphone amps, so you can go and put headphones on and listen to him play live. I don't know if he's going to be here all day. Yeah. He'll be here all day, so you guys can go check that out. Really talented musician and also a Grammy Award winner, I heard. So go check him out. And then Jon maybe we'll have him later. Larry will stop by. Jon's going to speak about the Magic Bus. And I think, Jon, if you could, I don't know if you want to do this, I like to hear people's audio journey. What got you into music? What got you into audio? What are your areas of expertise? What do you enjoy building and doing? I know you're an engineer, you're a designer, you're an audiophile, you've got a lot of talents, a lot of skills. So I don't know if you want to step back from the Magic Bus and give us a couple minutes just on you and your life with audio. I think that might be appropriate. And then the rest of the time is yours. Did you want to do Q&A, Jon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll do Q&A and I'll have a mic for that. And I think we have about an hour for our presentation. All right, thank you. Let's give a warm welcome to Jon.
Thanks, everybody. About my background. I started out, actually my first high-end audio experience was when I was about 13. I was at my Uncle Jim's house, and he had an Oracle turntable and T.H.E 3.6 loudspeakers and a Coetzo Rosewood cartridge turntable. So at the age of 13, I was enamored with the reproduction of sound. Of course, I didn't have the money to afford that sort of thing at that time, but through the years, I followed music, and I really loved music, and about the time, really it wasn't until I graduated from college and got my first job that I stepped up to the plate and got a high-end audio system. Hey, welcome. And it was a pair of Vandersteen 2CEs, like everybody starts out with, which are amazing speakers. And along the way, I started competing with car stereos and building car stereo systems. That took me, I won 10 first place trophies in car audio competitions. Actually, I never got a second place trophy yet. But I became aware of Steve McCormack, my audio mentor, and he really introduced me to what high-end is all about, and he's been a vital part of my audio experience and a great mentor, along with Jim Murad, who has 35 years of recording experience, live on-location recording experience. And those two together have shaped my love for audio and provided experiences that I would not otherwise have. And I'm forever grateful to them as mentors. And at some point, I felt like I needed to build something. I was in the corporate world, and as we know, the corporate world is driven by profit, sales margin, and things. And if you work as an engineer and a scientist like I do, your goal is really business-driven and profit-driven. And what I wanted to do is free myself from the constraints of the corporate limitations. And the Magic Bus, if you've seen it, as many of you have seen it already, and thank you for that, is an expression of art without limitation. I made proposals to sponsors, and many of my sponsors are among the very best of what's made, and I'm so thankful for their support. And it was a journey of 7 years, 14,000 hours, and I'll get into that a little bit later. And it really was an expression of no limits. There was nothing too difficult, there was no time that was too much, and there was no expenditure limitations. Tony will know that I sold most of my Apple stock to build the van, and I would otherwise be a wealthy man, but instead I have the Magic Bus. So I'm very poor at the moment, but I have the bus, and I get to share it with folks like you, and that is what really brings meaning to my life, and I'm grateful that you're here, and I'll jump right into the bus. The title of the presentation is Too Much Magic Bus. I like the song, you know, I'm a big fan of The Who, and you know, if you want to hear the quadrophenia in it, it sounds pretty amazing. But really, the too much part is what I like. Is there anything that's too much in audio? Really not. Too much really is defined by your effort to reproduce the ultimate goal, which is the recreation of that live experience when it happened. It's an impossible goal, but we try as hard as we can. We asymptotically approach it, and so too much is the whole goal of the bus. And in fact, there's a gentleman who agrees with me. Moderation is a fatal thing. Nothing succeeds like success. Excess, Oscar Wilde. The bus also embodies a number of industries which are really seemingly unrelated, but in fact are very related to one another. So this pictogram sort of defines the overlap between all of these different sort of pro audio, the musicians, the press, home audio, car audio, industrial equipment, skilled trades, the marine industry, and the automotive industry, all rolled into one, all in the Magic Bus. Here's an overview of the bus. Many manufacturers have valued it at over $1 million because of the labor, 14,000 hours of labor. It's been viewed on the forums hundreds of thousands of times. There's roughly 66,000 in capital in the system, 50 or more thousand in sponsorship. The system is 4,620 watts. The audio system weighs 3,000 pounds. That includes the acoustical treatments. The subwoofer alone is like 400 pounds. And the peak current consumption of the audio system is 556 watts. There have been 250 or more musicians who have autographed it, and I'll move on to those musicians and feature the stories behind those. 18 magazine articles, 15 people who have cried, and I'll share some of those experiences with you. That's pretty cool. And this is the 9th show that the bus has been at, and of course, there's only one Magic Bus. I started the project in March of 2004 when Peter Lufrano offered sponsorship. He said, "John, I'd like to get behind your work." In June, WBT and Kimber Cable came on board. They graciously provided an enormous amount of WBT fittings and cables. And in fact, the bus probably has more WBT fittings connections than any other audio system in the world because it's quad amplified, and Stinger came on board. Stinger makes fused distribution blocks and other accessories for car audio. Radix Wire is a manufacturer of high-end silicone jacketed wire. Became a certified IASCA judge in 2004. I took delivery of the Magic Bus in December of 2004, had 50 miles on it, and that's when the project began. I stripped down the interior the next day after I got the brand new van, and Cascade Audio came on board, then Genesis amplifiers. Genesis, this is not to be confused with Genesis loudspeaker, Gary Coe, who makes amazing products. This is Genesis of the UK, and these are handmade amplifiers. They're among the most sought after amplifiers made, and Genesis graciously provided 6 amplifiers valued at about $12,000 for the bus. Bosch Rexroth is an industrial company. Do you have a question?
No,
Oh.
just saying those amps were the great thing.
Yeah, there's 3 above and then 3 in the back for the subwoofer, yeah. Bosch Rexroth, here's an unusual thing. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
He was confused by the Dodge Mercedes relationship.
Oh, yeah. I'll talk about that. Mercedes made the van for Chrysler when they were merged, and it was labeled as a Dodge, but it's actually 100% Mercedes. And in fact, that merge has disbanded, and now it's Mercedes again entirely. Okay. Bosch Rexroth, aluminum extruded framing. It's used in the manufacturing industry for equipment and such. And it's the first use of extruded aluminum framing in a mobile audio system. The first musical note played by the Magic Bus occurred after 13,000 miles of driving and 2 years after I started the project. So this was the wiring, the sound deadening, and some of the underlying infrastructure for the sound system. On June 3rd, the bus, I took its first measured frequency response. Of course, you can see it's horrible, but that was just the first time it played, so I wanted to see what I was up against. Shortly after I got the Bosch aluminum framing, the editor of Entertainment Engineering wanted to do a feature article about the use of Bosch aluminum framing in it. So I was featured twice in Entertainment Engineering, which is a great article or a great publication about engineering, feats of wonderful engineering. The first autograph. March 11th, 2007, I was at the Carlsbad Library, and I was watching Noel Jukes, incredibly famous saxophonist. And afterwards, we went to Jim Murad's house to party it up, and we were partying at Jim Murad's place. And Noel Jukes is such a wonderful musician, and it just occurred to me, you know what, he should autograph the subwoofer. So we went outside to the van, and I gave him a Sharpie, and he went to touch it. He thought it was odd, you know, why would I autograph a car audio system? And he went to touch the subwoofer, which was just perfectly finished with 10 coats of polyurethane, and he touched it, and everybody went, it's ruined now, you know? And it wasn't ruined. It was the start of something really great, and many of you have seen the graffitied back of the audio. It's the thing that I'm most proud of now, and it was just a spur-of-the-moment decision to have the autographs and to become a tribute to the musicians who give us all such great joy, you know, with what they do for us. Steve McCormack, as I had mentioned, was a vital part of the development of the system, and he autographed it, Flight of the Cosmic Subwoofer, Steve McCormack. And that's, of course, a take on Bela Fleck's Flight of the Cosmic Hippo. And that was a recording he gave me to help develop the subwoofer and tune the subwoofer. There was a picnic up in the Bay Area hosted by a gentleman named Mr. Marv, and he's a cabinet maker, and he makes subwoofer boxes for mobile audio systems. And you know, I participated with that. It was one of the first events that the bus went to and was debuted at. The first phase of the bus was completed after 30,000 miles of driving and 3 years of building. And it was roughed in, there was no interior, it was 33 months. That was version 1. And you can see from the subwoofer picture, I had Dynaudio MW190s in an isobaric configuration and 1 Genesis amplifier driving those. It sounded really good, but there's more to the development story. I was among the first. Actually, there was a gentleman named Matt Hall and myself who exhibited at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest in 2007. We were the first two cars ever to appear at a home audio show, and that was a great honor. That was Alan Stiefel, who has since passed, and I'm forever grateful, and his memory lives on as we celebrate these shows. And he was a gracious man, and he didn't quite get it, but he let me be out in the parking lot. He figured I would do no harm, and he was a great man, and he will be missed. Lifeline came on as a sponsor shortly thereafter, and then in 2007, I was with Brian Kyle, who has also passed. We went up together to see Dave Weckl and Victor Wooten, and I got Dave Weckl and Victor Wooten to listen to the bus and autograph it. So those were some of the first great autographs that I had acquired, and I'd like to acknowledge Brian Kyle as a dear friend, and he's greatly missed. And he introduced me to a number of he was an avid lover of music, and his knowledge of great audiophile recordings. And I think about him often as I play many of the things that I play for you. Then there's Jim Murad. What a great 35 years. He's friends with everybody. Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Carlos Santana. I mean, just everybody. Sound like none other. Music from the inside. The goal of those with ears and hearts that care for what is left on earth as truth and beauty. Yeah, that was cool. Robert Harley, I invited him to listen to the bus. I never thought he'd come. He did, gracious, and he autographed the bus in 2008 and said I want to do an article about it. The first of a series of articles appeared in Car Audio and Electronics magazine in 2008. Ben O, the editor, would graciously featured the van and believed in the project. Again, I was at Marv's Barbecue and then more Car Audio magazines. It was a 7-part series. Oh, the Alpine story, this is good. So I use an Alpine head unit. It's the F1 status processor. It's an head unit. It's a DVD audio system. It was part of a $2.5 million multi-year research project. It defines and still is state-of-the-art in terms of source units in mobile audio. And Alpine celebrated their 30th anniversary, and they invited me up to exhibit them with other great people like Gary Summers and other great exhibitors who have built great systems around Alpine products. When I drove up, I had this nondescript white van, and the ladies at the reception desk, I pulled up in the van, rolled down the window, and they said, "Deliveries are in the back." And I said, well, that's good to know, but I'm here to exhibit. And they looked at me really weird, and then the event organizer ran up and said, "Hey, John, hey, glad you're here." And the lady said, "Well, where's he exhibiting?" And they said, "Exhibit A." And they said, "A?" And I went, "A? Where's A?" That was A. Right in front of the front door of Alpine. I didn't even know. And that was a great show. Anyway, right after that show, I took Magic Bus version 1 and tore it all apart again. And the goal was to do the interior, the acoustical aspect of it. So my wife came home from work and saw, it was mostly together. She comes home one day, and now it's mostly apart. And she's like, "Oh, It'll never get done. When are you going to finish it? And that was the great question. Ben O would ask from Carlisle Electronics, when's it going to be done? Tony would ask, when's it going to be done? He used to joke with me. He'd go, you know what, the van is going to be, the chassis is going to be worn out before you finish the audio system. And so that was the great joke. This was the system that would never be finished. And I would always say, like what Michelangelo would say, it'll be finished when it's finished. More magazines, car audio, and then the one that really I never thought would happen. November 15th, I was on the cover of the Absolute Sound magazine as the world's best car stereo as declared by Robert Harley, and it was one of the greatest honors of my life. And it was a great article that he had done, a great sidebar about the sound of the system, and I was so appreciative, so amazed that he would actually pay attention to my work. And another aspect of the van, one of the many questions that I get asked, aren't you afraid somebody's going to steal it? Well, no. It's protected like Fort Knox. There's so many sensors in that thing that it's impossible to steal. Now, I'm not challenging anybody to attempt to steal it, because the moment I say that, they're going to go, oh yeah, I can steal it. But maybe the good news is now it's so famous that even if you stole it, you probably wouldn't get very far, because there's only, everybody knows this van, so you wouldn't want to steal it. But please don't try, for those of you viewing this seminar. But it's protected by Clifford Alarm, which is a directed electronics company, a major company in mobile audio. And recently, I've been given the new Viper Smart Start alarm system. And so if you do steal it, I can shut you down and I can track you. So it's probably not advisable. But please don't try. My heart is weak and I can't take it anymore. Dyne Audio became an official sponsor in 2009, and that's when they provided the Esotar tweeters and the Esotar subwoofers in the back. And those Esotar subwoofers are just amazing. Those are basically unstoppable. And I have Mark here in the audience who does everything he can to try to stop them, but I don't think he's been successful yet, but he's bringing a lot of great recordings. You know, he'll come with a CD and he'll show it to me and he'll go, play this. And I'm like, I don't want to. And but anyway, it plays it, and so far we haven't found anything yet that brings it to its knees, but I'm sure we will someday. Mundell Lowe, wow, legendary guitarist, played through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. He's 92 now, and he's a lover of the bus. And recently I had him in the bus and played Count Basie Orchestra. He's, he's just amazing. He's loved in San Diego. Recently delivered a concert at Dizzy's with Bob Boss and Jaime Valle, and we just love him. 92 years old. Still touring, by the way. I'd give him a call and say, hey, I'd like to see you one of these days. And he'd text me back or email me back and say, no, I'm touring in Europe. I don't have time. Jean-Luc Ponty, amazing. John Jorgensen, for those of you, if you're not familiar with John Jorgensen, amazing guitarist. Plays in Django Reinhardt style. Every time he comes to San Diego, we hang out, and he plays with Elton John frequently, and he's an amazing guitarist. If you ever get a chance to see John Jorgensen, by all means. Christian McBride, he was down in San Diego, so we hooked up, and so that was cool. Joshua Bell, So he was at Copley Symphony Hall on a surprise visit. He was up in LA and probably said, what can I do to, play somewhere else? So he came down to Copley, and I called up Copley. I heard about it. I said, I know you probably don't have any tickets. And they said, we do. I go, well, what are they? And they go, front row center. And I go, I can't afford those. I go, how much are they? And they go, $50. I said, so, and I got two. And my wife, I took her. She didn't know. She said, I'll do anything to see Joshua Bell. I'll get sick. I'll quit work. I'll do anything. And I surprised her and took her to see Joshua Bell. And it turns out that the general manager of Copley Symphony Hall allowed me to carry one of those Helmholtz panels into Copley Symphony Hall and conspired with me to get Joshua Bell's autograph on the panel. So I've seen Joshua Bell twice now, and he knows the bus and asks about it when I see him. Benny Golson, legend in jazz. The bottom is interesting. Sylvia Durney. I was at a party, a Brazilian party, celebrating the 71st birthday of this lady, and I found out that she's in the Beatles' Love Show. She plays Eleanor Rigby in Vegas. And so we were hanging out, and I said, hey, let's go out to the bus. I want to show you some. So she came out to the bus, and what's your favorite song? Well, I'm friends with, all the folks in the show and everything, but I like While My Guitar Gently Weeps, so we played that in the bus for her, and that was her favorite song, and she autographed the bus. And then on a separate occasion, I went to Vegas, and that's me with her backstage at the Beatles' Love Show, getting to know all the musicians and looking at all the set props and everything for the Love Show. So that was, what a wonderful opportunity. And you just never know who you're going to meet. There's great people that are out there doing great things, and she really touched my life in a very special way. 71. Hubert Laws, he needs no, description. That middle graph is something I had accomplished after about 1.5 years of work on the interior design of the bus. These measurements, this is called a reverberation spectra. This is probably the most technical I'm going to get, but basically it's how the sound decays in the bus, and it's a critical aspect of room performance. And everybody knows, well, not everybody knows, but it's widely accepted that the most important component in your audio system is the room. If you start with a bad room, it doesn't matter how good the components are in it or the loudspeakers, you're going to be limited by the room. So the goal was to take the bus, which has surprisingly favorable room ratio measurements. In fact, it's one of the reasons I bought the bus. It's among the best ratios of height, width, and length. And with the addition of Helmholtz absorbers and diffusers, I was able to, by the gracious support of Brule and Care, they loaned me their 2270 handheld sound meter. It's like a $10,000 handheld sound meter. And I did the reverberation spectra in the bus, and that black curve, sorry the graph is a little bit too small, but that black curve is the bus spectra, and the gray lines that sort of bound it are the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, specifications for studios. So basically the bus has studio quality acoustics. Those blue dots that ride above it, that's Robert Harley's room in New Mexico. And that's probably one of the reasons I got a second review from Robert Harley, because I sent him, he spent $33,000, Norm Varney did his room. It costs about $33,000 to treat the room. And then I sent my spectra from the bus over to Robert Harley, and he was very impressed by that, especially to achieve that kind of performance in a hostile mobile environment. The colored lines below it, which you can barely make out, are conventional automobiles, and among those conventional automobiles was a BMW X5 that Tony graciously loaned to me, and a Jaguar, which Tony graciously loaned to me, and my wife's Beetle. And it basically shows that the reverberation spectra for cars in the treble, way too short. The environments are way too absorptive. And the goal of the bus was to keep it alive and keep the diffusion, use more diffusion and less absorption, and only use absorption for the bass frequencies that were bad. And those frequencies were 102 hertz, 93 hertz, and 36 hertz, principal resonance modes of the room itself. I might come back and talk about that a little bit more. Custom Auto Body became a sponsor. They're a local body shop, and they did much of the interior paintwork, the door panels, the pods. Tri-City Paints provided some of the painting and the supplies, body filler and tiger hair and some of the underlying materials. Hiroshima autographed the bus. Jun Kuramoto, the koto player, loves the bus. So they're a favorite band of mine. Russell Moore, I should talk about him. Male bluegrass vocalist of the year. Absolutely amazing vocalist and musician. Their bluegrass band called Third Time Out is absolutely a must-see. They are just phenomenal performers. So if you get a chance to see Third Time Out featuring Russell Moore, please do that. Charles McPherson, wildly famous saxophonist, lives in San Diego, friend of mine. Another article, Jim Murad, you know, as the bus was nearing completion, the end was in sight. I still sort of had a date of completion in mind at this point. By then, it's 2011. It's January of 2011. So I started in December of 2004. So it's 6 years later. The end is in sight. So Jim Murad graciously organized the attendance and performance of Nat Adderley Jr. Quintet to celebrate the completion of the Magic Bus. In the meantime, I met Joey DiFrancesco, who did a surprise visit to San Diego. So he autographed the bus as well, and heard it. Gary Burton, right? Vibraphonist of extreme caliber, great honor. Local San Diego magazine, The Reader. Dave Good is a big promoter of audio and a lover of music, and that was a great article. The bus was finished, finally, with 70,000 miles on it. So Tony was wrong. The chassis was not worn out. It still has life in it. It's still going. It's here today with 122,000 miles on it. And it was completed in April 18th of 2011. So that was 76 months, 6 1/3 years, 14,700 hours of labor, and felt good to have it done. So there's the completion party. Joe Cabala of Cabala Sosna recorded Gilbert Castellanos, who was featured at the completion party, which was held at Tango del Rey in San Diego, California. It's known for its wonderful acoustics, and Gilbert Castellanos is basically the top trumpeter in San Diego, Southern California, and known and loved by everybody. Tours all over the world, friends with everybody, Jeff Hamilton, Joey DiFrancesco, Clayton Hamilton Orchestra. Gilbert is amazing and a dear friend of mine, and his wife, Lorraine, plays guitar and sings, and she's just amazing too. She has a band called Besos de Coco, and I love that band, and so we see them all the time in San Diego. But anyway, it's a big 2-day completion party. Listen to the bus by day, celebrate with live music at night. Whole lot of fun. There's Nat Adderley Jr. and Longino Parsons to the left. And that was Sunday night. That was an amazing concert. And I have that recording in 192.24 if you would like to hear it. Mercy, Mercy, Mercy. It's a great song, a great recording. Then Robert Harley again reviewed the Magic Bus in the Absolute Sound in 2011 in another San Diego magazine called City Beat. Del Mar Times, Diane Welsh. The first Blueport Jazz Festival at Soka University was, I was invited to attend. That's Jim Murad on the right. That's me on the left, of course. And 3-day festival, amazing musicians. Soka University, if you haven't, its concert hall is one of the best in Southern California. If you haven't been there, it was designed by the same gentleman that did the Disney concert hall. Fabulous acoustics, a fabulous experience. Go to Soka University every chance you get. It's an amazing place. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. It's a Lisa Viejo. Yeah. The next thing is one of the greatest joys that the bus has brought to me, and that's with Larry Mitchell, the guitarist there. Grammy Award-winning producer and guitar virtuoso, and he was the first musician to play through a mobile audio system. And with that setup, we had Dyne Audio Special 25s rendering his guitar, graciously provided by Dyne Audio. And we had a T+A amplifier integrated, driving those. And that was our first, I was the first car at the show series, the home entertainment show, the first car. And what a great honor. Richard Beers believed in me, and I'm forever grateful to Richard Beers, and I'd like to acknowledge what he's done for the audio industry, what he's given to us, and the opportunities that he's given me. Very, very appreciative. And this was our first show, and we've been with every show since, and it's just been amazing. Here's a gentleman who was my inspiration. Don't believe he's not here. Okay. Earl Zausmer. He built a red BMW in the 90s, and he's world famous. He's a legend, and he was the inspiration for my work. And his car probably had more publicity, more trophies, more of everything. And it had a unique design where his loudspeakers were up high on the dash, much like mine are. And his car provided an inspiration. He listened to the bus and declared it to be unequivocally the best sounding vehicle today, anywhere. And he autographed it, perfection on wheels. And this is coming from a legend. So this was really, what a great honor to have somebody of that historical importance put his blessing on the system. Then Larry and I got a chance to meet Dyne Audio's CEO, Wilfried. He listened to the bus, and his assistant, Claudia, too. Then I was in Dealer Scope. Here was another great night. Gordon Goodwin. Wow, the Big Fat Band at a club in San Diego called Anthology. And talked to his wife after the show, and he convinced Gordon to come out and listen to the van. So that's us behind the van. And it was Bernie, I think it's Bernie Dresser on the drums, and Gordon, and then Eric Marienthal. So that was cool to hang with those guys. And most of you probably know Gordon just won a Grammy for his work, and his recordings are just superb. So please stop by the bus, and if you want to audition some Gordon Goodwin, it's really nice. The next musician to be featured at the bus was Alan Phillips and Russell Blake. And then Dean Peer popped over to see what all the action was going on, and now Dean has performed with Larry at the bus, and Dean is a big fan of the bus, and I have his Airborne album to share with you, which is just amazing, and it's a must-hear in the bus. Albert Lee, wow, what an amazing, when the British invasion came in, there was The Rock. Hey, there's Larry Mitchell, Grammy Award-winning guitar virtuoso Larry Mitchell. Hey, Troy, good to see you. Welcome to Larry. Larry will be probably, hey, do you feel up to performing after this, like at 2? Yeah. Okay, so Larry will be at the bus rendering live guitar through the bus. So if you haven't gotten a chance to hear it, please hear it. Larry, I met Larry in 1995. I was at Episodes in Del Mar, and it was the first time I saw him play, and I was just totally mesmerized, totally smitten. I've been following him all through the 90s when he swept all the music awards in San Diego. Then he had the audacity to move to leave San Diego, leave me high and dry and all of his fans, and he went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and won a Grammy producing Native American music, and we've been friends for the longest time. And when he saw the bus when it was completed, he said, "I want to play through it." And I'm like, "No kidding, we got to figure out a way." So we did it, and I'm so honored to have Larry. He's such an amazing music. He was at NAMM doing the Silent Jam with Sennheiser and Brian Hardgrove. All my friends from San Diego, we drove up and hung out with Larry, so it was great. Monette and Jamie, and who else was there? Yeah, I can't remember either, but we had such a blast. Nathan East. Saw when Foreplay was at Anthology, we got to see Nathan. I had his brother James, who actually played with Larry a lot, and we used to hang out a lot. And so I had all the East brothers and some of the sons. And the only autograph that was left was Nathan's. So I sent him a text and I said, I have all your brothers, I have your sister, and your nephews, but I don't have you. Would you please autograph the bus? And he said yes. So not only did I get Nathan, but everybody else from Foreplay. Imani Wins, what a great, that's Miriam Adam. I met her I was on a business trip in DC and met her at a show, and took a taxi cab ride with her, and then ultimately saw them perform at Caltech so that was a great concert. They're a must-see performance as well. Then Larry and I were at the show in Las Vegas in January in 2013. Also there was Ann Bisson, so we got to hang out. She loved Larry. They did a duet together. That was amazing. She's an amazing performer. Muriel Anderson is another one that is just an amazing guitarist. She loves the bus. Every time she comes down to San Diego, she wants to take a listen to it. Another magazine article. This was a gentleman, Utanto. He's in Jakarta, Indonesia. He came halfway around the world to see the bus. Richard Beers helped him get a visa so that he could see the bus. And he's actually building a car in conjunction with ScanSpeak right now. And He's trying to build a car that's much like the Magic Bus, and he's doing a really good job on it. So check his work out on Facebook, Utanto Wibowo in Jakarta, Indonesia. For my birthday, my wife took me up to the Musicians Institute in Hollywood, and I got to meet Patricia Barber. And she was a sweetheart, and she came and listened to the bus and autographed the bus, her whole entourage. It was fantastic. We were at the Newport Beach show again. Brian Lynch, Grammy Award-winning trumpeter, heard the bus, loves the bus. Here's another dream of mine, Andrew Jones, world-famous loudspeaker designer, listened to the bus, autographed the bus, loves the bus. How many people are familiar with Luis Miguel? Anybody raise your hand? Luis Miguel. Okay, good. Luis Miguel is like the second most grossing musician, right behind Bono. $950 million tour for over 2 years. Tommy Eros is his percussionist, a friend of mine. We see him all the time in San Diego. And Tommy brought up the members of Luis Miguel's band, Lalo Carrillo and Francisco Loyo, and we hung out in the bus. They love the bus. So I had Luis Miguel's band in the bus and loving it, and they're such great guys, and I love those guys so much. I mentioned Viper, got the Smart Start alarm system from Directed Electronics. Tim Flannery, you guys all know him, right? Baseball, and he played. He's an amazing musician, and he plays with Larry and Randy Driscoll, and does the Christmas concert that Randy Driscoll puts on with Larry, usually. And he gave me his album, and when he gave me his album, he said, I want you to play Hillbilly Rain at maximum volume. So check out Tim Flannery's album. It's really special. Larry Mitchell, again, was featured at the show Las Vegas, and this one was particularly special because Dynaudio debuted their Zeo 5 wireless loudspeakers. So we took those wonderful little speakers and rendered Larry's live guitar through them, and they could take the punishment because, as you know, live instruments in high-end loudspeakers, pretty hard on them. And so we did that, and here's the thing about Larry. Wherever he is, he attracts other musicians. He's a musician's musician. So here we have the guys from Rock of Ages rocking out with Larry, rocking out in the van. We had Alan Childs there one year, and then we had Dan Grenis and Chris Cicchino, and then there's Dean Peer on the left. We had a blast that year. Okay, got it. George Bohannon. I met him at a tribute to Daniel Jackson's life and career. I'll talk more about that later. Dealerscope. Hey, Bilstein became a sponsor. That was funny. They said, what do shock absorbers have to do with audio? And I said, about the same thing that oatmeal does. Because I have an oatmeal sponsor, and they think it's important to sponsor the bus. So I think, you know, the bus, it uses shock absorbers, and I've been a Bilstein user for several, a decade or more. And I just put it this way. I said, all the sponsors have said no to me. I invite sponsors to be a part of the bus. They all say no, I don't give up, and eventually they say yes. And Bilstein graciously provided the struts and shock absorbers for the bus. And I said that it's like this. The bus is about celebrating the best things in life. It's about cherishing what matters rather than money or difficulty, or it's associating with what we love when you have total freedom. And that was enough to convince Bilstein. There's my oatmeal sponsor. I was at the grand opening of myoatmeal.com. So for those of you who are healthy eaters, get your oatmeal from myoatmeal.com. They have all kinds, they have like 28 billion combinations of oatmeal. If you don't eat sugar, if you're gluten-free like Larry, they've got something for everybody. So they're Anthony Kalova and his wife run a great little business there, and highly endorse them. And they're huge supporters of the bus. So I was at the Newport show 1 year without Larry Mitchell. Broke my heart. It was at this in the summertime. Larry was busy touring or something, so I tried to make do without Larry. Here's another dream come true. Kevin Vex, one of the greatest loudspeaker designers, listened to the bus. He said, after he heard it, he said, "John, there aren't many things in audio that impress me. This impresses me." And wow, I was blown away. Larry Fuller, great pianist, played with Matt Whittek and his wife, Katie Thoreau. Tim Weisberg started the smooth jazz movement in San Diego at Humphreys. Amazing flautist. Here's another dream come true. Rebecca Pigeon. So I drove up to Wits End and contacted Rebecca, and I saw she was playing, and I said, you know, it'd be my dream to play Spanish Harlem for you in the bus. And I met her, and I met her husband, David, and we listened to the bus, and she autographed the bus, and she loves the bus, and it was a dream come true, really. Jillian Margot played with Jeffrey Keyser and Peter Sprague in San Diego. She's an amazing vocalist. Curtis Taylor, Grammy Award-winning trumpeter, now lives in San Diego. We're very lucky, moved from New York. Tony Maselli, Nick Mancini, both vibraphonists, Jim Ferguson, Jim White, Brad Good, all legends in jazz who have come to see the bus. Here's another dream come true. Muriel Anderson was performing at the Museum of Making Music in Carlsbad. How many of you know about the Museum of Making Music in Carlsbad? Okay, if you haven't visited that museum, it's an amazing place. It's a treasure that we have in northern suburb of San Diego. And I strongly encourage you to experience the museum. They have great performances, and on this occasion, Muriel Anderson was performing, and she invited Stanley Jordan to play, and it was one of the most memorable nights of music. And Muriel, since she had already autographed the bus and is a big fan of the bus, she helped me get Stanley Jordan into the bus and autograph it. And after he heard it, he was amazed, and he said, "When can I hear this again?" And so that was like a dream come true again. We have a speed shop in San Diego. Cars and Coffee is hosted there. And so among all of these exotic cars and and Mustangs. We have this, it's the first Sunday of every month in San Diego at JBA Speed Shop. It's really worth attending. There's hundreds of people that attend there. And one of my favorite things to see there is the burnout contest. Now, I didn't want to do a burnout with the Magic Bus because, you know, I didn't want to embarrass all those people with 1,000 horsepower cars and stuff, you know, so I just stayed to the sideline. You know, the bus has 158 horsepower, in case you are wondering. Bob McChesney, he just performed last night out in the thing with Mike Garson, and he was amazing, absolutely amazing. I was with Matt Hall, my friend Matt Hall, who's a trombonist, and Patrick Escalante, who just graduated from SDSU and studied trombone. And what a great night that was. They played at 98 Bottles, another one of my favorite venues. So here we are today. We're at The Show, Newport, and I'm featuring Larry Mitchell doing a silent concert. The silent concert, in case you haven't seen, it's Larry's playing live guitar rendered through his fractal audio processor at 4824 resolution. I have an Astle & Kern AK-120 Model 2 rendering Larry's backing tracks in 9624. And Larry's playing live. I think we're going to play, what, about 2 o'clock after this? Is that okay? Yeah, so come see Larry play live. Listen to the fabulous resolution of the Astle & Kern player, graciously provided by Owen Kwan of Astle & Kern. Woo Audio also provided the vacuum tube headphone amplifiers that are powering also Astle & Kern's biodynamic T5P headphones, which sound amazing. And then we're also simultaneously piping that into the bus. So the sound in the bus is with the live rendering of the guitar and the backing, really amazing experience, very unique among the exhibits here. And I hope you'll take a listen. From this point on, the bus, this has been quite a journey for the bus. Like I said, 122,000 miles on the bus. It's been about 7 years of an audio journey. The bus is an amazing thing because it brings together all of the people who love music and love it in so many different ways. The car is a challenging environment, and it may not be the best environment, but it is an environment of freedom. It's an environment where you can get lost in the music and turn it up as loud as you want and not disturb anybody. It's an intimate experience, and it's a very special experience. It's an important way to enjoy audio, just as a home system is. I love home systems. I think they're the best, actually. So my hope with the bus is to have you think that some aspects of it are very much like a home system. Where the bus goes from here, I don't know. Maybe, I'm hoping a museum, maybe the Smithsonian. I definitely want it to be a tribute to the musicians who mean so much to us, who light up our lives. I mean, they're the reason we're here. And they're the reason I do what I do. And so I want the bus to be remembered for giving tribute to the musicians who put so much into what they do and give so much of themselves to us and enlighten us and warm our hearts. I would like to dedicate this presentation to one particular individual. His name is Daniel Jackson. He was a dear friend of everybody's in San Diego. toured with Ray Charles. He inspired and taught a number of musicians. He mentored Gilbert Castellanos, who said Daniel was the real deal, my musical father. He was known for improvisation. He was incredible. He inspired beginning musicians. He was loved by musicians all over the world. In fact, after his passing, I was at a benefit concert, and Ben Vereen and a number of famous people came to pay homage to his life and his legacy. And I hope I have Daniel Jackson's autograph on the bus. I got it a long time ago. And his memory lives on with us in the bus, which is one of the greatest things about the autographs in the bus.
We are out of time.
Okay, one last conclusion. Basically, thank you. I hope that you get to experience the bus, and I encourage you to get the illustrated history of high-end audio, and Robert Harley inscribed mine, and I hope he'll inscribe yours, and thank you.